Title: He Was Left to Die. But what happened next shocked everyone. A massive crowd stood in front of a huge stage. The world watched as a man, once broken, abandoned, and left for dead, stepped forward, holding a microphone. Tears filled his eyes. I shouldn't be here today, but because of one act of kindness, I was saved. This is the story of a man the world forgot, but God never did. And what happened next, no one saw coming. Story begins. Meet David. Once he was a successful businessman, a loving father, a man who had everything, until he lost it all. His company collapsed, his wife left him, his so-called friends disappeared. And just like that, he became nothing. For years, David wandered the streets, invisible to the world. He begged for food, slept on park benches, and prayed every night for a miracle. But no one cared. One cold evening, starving and weak, David collapsed in front of a fancy restaurant. People walked past him. Some glanced at him with disgust. Others pretended he didn't exist. He whispered, "Please, help me." No one stopped. Then, a teenage boy walked by. He saw David shivering, struggling to breathe. And unlike everyone else, he stopped. He ran inside the restaurant, bought a meal, and rushed back. "Sir, eat this. Please." David's hands shook as he took the food. Tears filled his eyes. "Why? Why would you help me?" he asked. The boy smiled. "Because God loves you, and so do I." David sobbed. He hadn't heard those words in years. But that night, that one meal, it changed everything. The unexpected twist. That night, David made a promise to himself. "If I survive this, I'll change my life." And for the first time in years, he prayed with hope. The next morning, David woke up with a new determination. He walked to a local shelter and begged for a job. Any job. They let him clean tables, sweep floors, wash dishes. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. David saved every penny. He worked harder than anyone. And one day, he had enough to rent a small room. But he didn't stop there. He started reading books, learning, growing. And then, he started his own small business. People laughed. "You? A businessman again? Impossible." But David smiled, because he had faith. And within 3 years, that small business, it became a multi-million-dollar company. The same people who once ignored him, now they worked for him. The bigger miracle. One day David held a huge event. Thousands of people came. The media covered it. And standing in the crowd, the teenage boy who saved him years ago. David walked up to him, tears in his eyes. "You don't know this, but you saved my life that night." The boy's eyes widened. David smiled and handed him an envelope. Inside, a scholarship for college, fully paid. The boy's hands trembled. He looked up, tears streaming. "Why would you do this?" David hugged him. "Because God never forgets kindness, and neither do I." The powerful ending. David looked out at the massive crowd. "I was once left to die on the streets. The world gave up on me, but God didn't." He paused, eyes filled with emotion. "And if you feel lost, broken, forgotten, remember this: God sees you. Your story isn't over. Your miracle is coming. And you, the one watching this, no matter how hard life gets, never lose hope." because one act of kindness can change everything. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs hope. And if you believe in miracles, subscribe to the channel. Your breakthrough is coming. Stay faithful, stay strong, and remember, God is always watching.